Well, I think GM foods are here to stay. We're already consuming them. Whether or not we can grow them actually in the UK is an entirely different story. What I think it does by leaving Europe is actually allow us to show that we're actually open for business. Well, the benefits are there to be seen. 90% of the world's soya is GM. Majority of the maize crop is GM. There's GM cotton grown, all showing significant benefits, and farmers have a free choice. They would not choose to grow these crops unless they saw benefits. And the best way it was put to me was by an economist in the US that the adoption of GM traits across the world is the nearest thing the world's had to a free meal. Well, I took part in the GM field trials, which was a herbicide-tolerant oilseed rape, and over the 3 years that we were growing it, the benefits were very, very easy to see. Very simple process of managing weeds, much safer products use, and we weren't having to use especially pre-emergence herbicides, which have a real holding effect on a crop on emergence, which is really critical at this point in time when we're struggling against an insect problem like cabbage stem flea beetle. Absolutely, science is fundamental to future production, and we actually have some great science in the UK. There's some fantastic organisations doing a huge amount of really useful work, and the key is that they actually have the hope of getting that work out into the field, because it will be required when you see the kind of pressure on demand that is constantly building. Well, you would hope that they would apply science, and I think that's all farmers are asking, that we actually apply science so that if a product is safe and deemed to be safe, then we have access to it. If it's really important to production and there's a derogation for it, then it should certainly be considered. And the other side to that is, if a product is deemed unsafe, then nothing should come into this country that has had the benefit of that product. I can't see the UK, unfortunately, going out of limb with the way Europe is, because so much of our trade is dependent. And also, for the companies that are actually releasing these products, whether the UK's market is big enough to do it on isolation is a difficult one. I don't think the GM issue was a big part of it. I do think, though, there's a real frustration with Europe, and especially the European Parliament, in the way they've handled the legislation and the authorisation surrounding a lot of the pesticides that are really important to production. In the short term, with regard to Brexit, nothing much, but Brexit will be upon us quicker than people realise, and we're only a year away from effectively having markets that will be affected by the prospect of Brexit. Next year's harvest will be critical in determining how the market will function. If we have a big market, then we'll have a surplus. If we have a shortage market, then that'll drive forward selling. So we're going to hit the issues of Brexit far quicker than people realise.